Hello, my name is Pastor Mark, and it's a privilege to be able to share with you just a little bit about what it means to be a Faith at Home driven church. In my experience as a youth and family pastor and now as a senior pastor, it's kind of amazing what God is doing. I think we're all beginning to realize that the home is the primary place where faith is to be nurtured. You can see all the statistics that are coming out of Barna and many other sources that realize that mom and dad are 2 to 3 times more influential than any church program when it comes to passing on the faith to our children and to our children's children. And so churches now are beginning to wake up to this and saying that, okay, we have to equip mom and dad to do it. We have to see the home as that primary place where faith is nurtured. But what I've noticed is, and even experienced, is kind of a right and wrong way. So churches are getting all fired up for family ministry now, and it's become kind of a top thing that we have to discuss. We're talking about what it means to be a missional church. And the other thing that seems to be a hot button today is to talk about this thing called family ministry. And in my experience of doing family ministry is I've seen that there's kind of a right and a wrong way to do this. And please, before I go any further, I know that always sounds arrogant to say that, like, who am I to say I've got a right and wrong way, but I just want you to know that that comes out of experience. I've done it the wrong way, and then I was blessed to have an opportunity to do it a different way and see how there's a significant difference between the two. And so I want to try to explain that to you because this resource and everything we're going to be talking about is kind of built around this premise. So first of all, the church tends to be set up very much this way. For example, when we do ministry in the church, it starts down here with the itty bitties. We usually call it a nursery ministry, and we start with a ministry to the very little kids of the church, and we find some nursery volunteers and a nursery coordinator, and we make sure that we take care of the little ones and make sure they feel loved and cared for, and that we create an environment at our churches that lets our families also know that we love the little children, and so we take care of them in nursery. And then once they reach a certain age, we then move them out of nursery ministry, and we put them up here in children's ministry. We may call it Sunday school. There's a lot of different things that we call that, but we move them into children's ministry, and we have a nice plan for children's ministry where we're going to start at age 3 and we're going to move on up through age 6 or grade 6, and we're just walking them through and scope and sequence and teaching them things about the Bible. And we have a children's ministry staff and children's ministry volunteers, and we have a really good children's ministry program. And then at some point, then we realize that, okay, it's not time to move them into that next group, and that next group is usually what we call kind of the youth ministry. And some churches have a junior high and a senior high, some have it just youth ministry. But it's time now to hand them over to the youth staff, and here you go, youth staff and youth leaders, and you take our kids and continue to nurture them in their faith. And then if you're at all like most other churches, once they reach young adulthood, you just kind of skip over young adults and kind of hope that they come back to the church someday. And then eventually we have adult ministry up here, and we have adult ministry classes, we have men's ministry, women's ministry, we do a lot of adult ministries, and then a lot of times a church will also have a ministry for seniors. And so we're very much set up this way. But then here comes this whole family ministry push, and it seems like, okay, now we've got to get family ministry on our radar. And so the church starts going, okay, that's a priority, and we need to focus on that. So we look at it as pastors and churches and go, okay, how are we going to do that? We do it the way we've always done things, and that's where we add another box. And we say, okay, well then let's add another box called family ministry, and let's get a family ministry team, or if you're a larger church, have a family pastor, and they'll put together a bunch of family ministry events, doing some family ministry things, and you'll have family game night, and you'll have family retreats, and so forth. But what I found in that is, or let me also show you another way that we do it, is instead of maybe doing that, instead of adding the box here, sometimes what we do is we add it to the children's ministry box, and we just, because they don't have enough to do in children's ministry, so we add it over there. So either way, we do it one of these ways. Well, what I have discovered is in doing this, and realize I did this myself, is at best, when we add family ministry to the list of things that we're doing as a church, at best we get about a 40% turnout rate. In other words, 40% of our parents are actually showing up for these family ministry events. And what I also found is out of that 40%, half of those were the ones that were already doing it in the home anyway and weren't the ones that we needed to reach. Well, that's one way to do it, and that's what I call the wrong way. But there is another way. If you really think about it, where does family ministry really fit? If you think about it, we're set up this way. where does family ministry really fit? It doesn't really fit over there. It doesn't fit underneath here. Family ministry fits, it's woven across. It needs to be a part of how we do ministry down here with the little ones, and then how we do ministry in children's and in youth and with our adults and with our seniors. And it needs to be woven across. And that's what we talk about as being kind of a faith at home driven church. And this string that we have is woven through everything that we do is what we call our take it home events and our take it home strategy, where in other words what we're doing as a church is we're looking at how we do nursery in a way as how are we equipping the home through our nursery ministry to be the primary place where faith is nurtured. How are we in children's ministry equipping the parents of children to talk with their children about the faith in the home, to bless their children, to pray in the home, to do family devotions, to read the Bible in the home, and all of those types of things. In youth ministry, how are we equipping the parents of teenagers to talk with their kids about sex and to talk with their kids about money and the boundaries as far as the computers and the internet? How are we in adult ministry equipping even our singles? How are we equipping our singles to have a faith at home driven singles ministry so singles are living it out in their own home? And how are we helping our seniors continue to be engaged and be an influence in the life of their children and their children's children? And so we're looking at how can we equip that home to be the primary place where faith is nurtured through our existing ministry structures. And so that's what I call it. It's the difference between being, some of you may remember this, in small group ministry. Remember, you could either be a church with small groups or you could be a church of small groups. And you remember the big difference between the two. A church with small groups, it was just a program. And it was kind of like you added on small groups and said, we're going to have a few small groups in our church. Or you could be a church of small groups where you said, now that's how we do church. It's an expectation that everybody is in a small group and pastoral care will happen in small groups and discipleship happens in small groups. Well, this is the same principle. You can either be a church with family ministry, where you have about a 40% turnout, or you can be a church of family ministry, or what we call a faith at home driven church, where it's a part of how you do church. And so that's what we're going to hopefully help you do, is equip you to weave a take it home string into all of your existing ministry structures. I look forward to coming alongside and partnering with you as we do this together. God bless.